Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. With me, I have a special friend today, Chavdar Stoenchev, if I'm saying your name right. Hi, Chavdar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, hello, hello. So, we do .NET on this show, and Chavdar is a long time, .NET developer, and he's excited about a lot of the same things that I am these days with hybrid apps and bringing or mixing and matching web with native tech. So that's why Chavdar is here to talk about what he's been up to. So why don't you introduce yourself first, please?
Okay, hey everyone. So my name is Chavdar, and I have like 15 years of experience right now. Almost my career is with .NET, and I love Microsoft, all the products that they have, almost all the products to be honest. Yeah, and now I'm a director of software engineering at Resolute Software, also architect there. We have a lot of systems. But yeah, my main focus is mostly on .NET, and yeah, so that's about my professional experience and my
Yeah. Yeah.
technologies. Yeah.
Well, very cool. Thank you for making time to join. Okay, so Shavdar, I think you and me share kind of the experiences as we have grown up in the .NET ecosystem. Like we started with, desktop apps, then we did a whole bunch of web stuff and mobile here and there on the sides. But you're excited about the latest in the .NET ecosystem, like ASP.NET, Blazor, Maui. Those are things you like.
Yeah, so almost my career go through the web, but sometimes like a developer you have to do something like a mobile stuff.
Yeah.
And most of the times we're doing with, for me, JavaScript websites, and then wrap it with some wrappers around Java, etc. But now I think is the time with Maui to show Microsoft that they can provide a real powerful framework for building mobile apps.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of, blending web with native things as well because like you said, like the web is probably the best in terms of reach because everybody has a browser. But, how many times do we, run native apps on our phones? So it would be really nice to reuse our web skills and our code and our styles just inside of native apps now. And I think .NET Maui with Blazor, like the whole Blazor hybrid story, and now going forward with like .NET 9, I know they're working on like a Maui hybrid story. So things like Angular and React and other JavaScript things are also welcome. So I think it's a good time because you really get to mix and match. You have had web apps, but then you have had also a journey of trying to bring those to mobile. Because like this all sounds very promising. Is it completely stress free? Is it super easy, or are there things you have to work around?
okay. So reading the documentation, it says okay, it's very easy, and no, write it once, use it everywhere, and yeah, this grabs me, and I wanted
Oh,
to check that,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I checked that with the real application
Okay.
that is real application that is working, written on another technologies,
Hmm.
and to be honest, is almost there.
It
So yeah,
works for the
there's a
most
lot
part.
of the problems around there, and most of the problems sound around the setting up of the
I
application.
see.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So enough talk. Why don't you maybe show us, what you have? Because you mentioned like you had a app initially, maybe it was a web app, and now you're trying to bring it to mobile. So let me know when you're ready to bring up your desktop.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm ready, Sam.
okay. All right. We see your desktop, and I see an Android emulator. All right. We're
Yeah,
jumping straight into mobile.
yeah.
All right.
A little history about this app. So this app was written like let's say 8 years ago, and it's a post system application. As I
Yep.
said, initially it was written in JavaScript. Then we decided to wrap it into the Java. So because most of the users are using that application into Android devices,
I
this
see.
this application is used into the internal networks. So I mean, it's not public facing application, it's client by
Sure.
client
Yep.
installation.
Which is, I
And
think, it's a classic use case of like a line
yeah,
of business point of sale app. People are using it over like a tablet maybe, and Android is, very
yeah,
popular for,
yeah.
such kiosk type, tablets.
Or it's cheaper than
Yeah,
iOS.
yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, some of the clients ask because they're so sophisticated and they want to use it in the iOS. And do you have this application running on iOS? And the answer is no. And this is one of the motivations to start and writing that on a Maui. And my first thing was, okay, can I write it on a Maui? And I started, but then I realized, okay, I have all that HTML, CSS, everything there. The clients like how it looks and feels. Why don't I try something mixed with like Maui with Blazor? And
Hmm.
yeah, um, I was able to.
Good.
Okay, so
So
I
let's see it, because like, I mean,
okay,
to your point, like now,
yeah,
if you wrap this up inside of Maui, then it, magically just works on iOS because it's a native app
yeah.
that's
Okay,
cross-platform.
so yeah, we have here this application running in Android emulator. We have the same application. Okay, I'll show that screen later on the demo, but it's the same application running on Windows as you
On
can see.
Windows. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
this is
Yeah.
a okay. I will make you a brief demo on the application, and after that
Sure.
we can deep dive into the code. Okay,
Sure.
so when first start your application, you have to register your application and enter your device name. Let's say here Android something new app. Okay, you submit it, and so your application is now registered. And every time you start it again, you don't need to enter this because you have this application registered. And here was the first problem, but I'll talk about later on. So let's go into the app. I log in with administrator credentials, and as administrator, you have some settings here.
Okay.
You have to select a store because it's point of post system, so you have to select
Sure.
a store. You have to select the price list and some other configurations that we can talk later on if there's enough time. But this is the initial setup that you have to do.
Yep.
And as you can see here, if I go that and do that in Windows, you can see that pickers here are native. That means even I'm on Maui,
Yeah.
you see here, okay?
Yep.
So
Yep.
these are the standard Windows drop downs. Here
These
are
are the
yeah,
Android dropdowns. One of the
drop
key benefits.
yeah,
It's
one of the
just,
key.
yeah.
You you write standard HTML, but you receive the native experience
Yeah.
inside the application.
Wait, so you're saying like these screens, I mean, even though they look very native, but this is all HTML, CSS, JavaScript?
Yeah, so this is most probably Bootstrap. These initial screens are written in Bootstrap
Okay.
and no JavaScript. So my
Okay.
idea was when I started, can I make it with zero JavaScript? And to be honest, I'm there. I was able to, except one small edge case I will show later on. But this is Bootstrap, and but only the CSS of the Bootstrap, so no JavaScript. I'm using models. You
Yeah.
can see
Nice.
later on. I'm using other controls of Bootstrap without any JavaScript.
Yeah.
Let's go get into it. Okay, I set up the app so I can log in with the operator, and here you see the holes and the tables into the hole. So
I
there are
see.
two screen types of this. This is like a list, just list, and the other type is uh, you can set up the how the tables are really on on the whole, and it's displayed, but it's kind of hard to demo on that one. I will show later on.
Yeah.
Okay, so first one, this is the bootstrap control. So this guy here is a bootstrap, but it's no JavaScript.
Oh, I see. So it's like, you're in a restaurant, you're trying to choose which part of the restaurant you're
Yes,
serving, where are the
yeah,
tables. Yep. Okay.
yeah. Okay. And I'll, let's say, select garden, and the first table, okay, here I have guests. I select garden one, the table, and here is, let's say, almost the same, but here are the articles that our restaurant has. We have some groups here. bar, kitchen, some other stuff like back, lunch menu, etc., etc. And let's go, for example, in the bar, and you can always navigate with the two top buttons here, up or top.
Hmm. This is so classic point of sale. This is exactly
Yeah,
what restaurants love.
yeah,
Give me big buttons that are easy to punch because I'm busy.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. Here we display some information. I can, for example, select a whiskey, Bushmills, Jameson, and go up, and some freshes, for example, lemon, kiwi fresh, etc. So I have a lot of options here. I can, for example, change the quantity because you can see here we
Hmm.
display the market quantity with the last article that we marked on. We can click here and change the quantity, and here you can see that this is again the native number
Right.
keyboard of Android.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And also this is a bootstrap model, and as I said before, zero JavaScript.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Nice.
can choose, for example, tree, save it. I can also write a note if I wish, clicking on that name, again the model, but this time the keyboard is with alpha.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So it's interesting. Like I would normally expect that this type of customization is reserved for like very native UI, but you're saying like even with web UI, you can control the type of keyboard that you get and the pop-ups and the drop downs that you get.
yeah, the good one is you here is the text area, but for the quantities, input time number, and the
Yeah.
magic happens.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's kind of
Absolutely.
very, very easy. So
Yeah. Nice.
yeah,
I'm also just noticing what you're ordering. It's just like three kiwis and two whiskeys. You and me are going to have a fun time this evening.
for sure. Yes. Okay. We have a search ability. You can search for something, and
Yeah.
as you can see, the keyboard automatically pops up.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to write in three symbols, for example, pizza. And when my search is done, I have delay while writing
Nice.
you the name, and as you can see, the keyboard disappears because I want, if there's a more articles, uh, I want to see the whole list. So if I type remove one of the letters, wait for a second, and again, as so, the keyboard disappears
Right. Yeah.
automatically.
Yeah.
So here is the place that I tried a lot of different techniques to do it without JavaScript, but this is the place where I had to put two rows of JavaScript, but I was not able to do it with Blazor. And I will show the code after that.
And
Okay.
this, I mean, to me, this is fine because, like, the goal of Blazor was to have you write less JavaScript. And for folks who have invested, like anybody who's written a modern .NET app in the last, 10, 15 years, you did JavaScript. So the goal is not to, not do JavaScript at all. Maybe just bring it over, write more .NET, have them, coexist together.
As a fan of .NET, to be honest, I think the final goal of the Blazor should be I can write everything into the web without any JavaScript.
That
And
is
this
the
is,
goal. Yes, that's what they would
yeah,
like.
and this is why I'm trying to prove that with every app that I'm
Yeah,
writing in Blazor that it's possible. So yeah,
yeah.
it's almost possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
And
the experiences here. Like as you start typing, it goes away, and then you have the drop down. Yeah, this is very
yeah,
slick.
yeah. So it's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is the almost functionality here. You pick up some articles, you click confirm, and then you're going to the final page with your current order, and
Hmm.
you have a lot of options here. You can go to articles again if you forgot something. On that page, you can see if you have previously ordered on that table. This is the current order. And here you can, for example, say, okay, I want this one to have two quantities, two, three, four, whatever. I can
Yeah.
change the quantity. I can again write the note here. If I'm on that kiwi fresh, I see my previous note. I can change it
Yeah.
if I wish. I can change the quantity. You saw already this, but I have three more options. One of the options here is to remove something from the recipe of the
Right.
pizza, for example. I want without onion, for example. I just click here, save it, and you see no onion is displayed.
Mhm. This
Also,
this is this is a very advanced app. Like you must have written this over years and years.
so as I said, app was started 8 years ago, and it
Yeah.
evolved through the years. But to be honest, having all the HTML, CSS, and as I said, I didn't touch the API at all. That was one of my goals.
Yeah.
I rewrite it in Blazor for total of 10 days, 10
Oh,
working
really?
days.
Nice.
Yeah,
This
yes.
is looking very good.
Yeah, I write it like 2 3 months because I'm doing that in some free time, but it took me like 10 full days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So
what is nice is how good is your layout and your alignment of things. Like that looks like a list or a grid of something, and then looks like another layout where you have 4 or 5 buttons at the bottom. This is almost like if you didn't tell me, like I would not know that this is not a native app.
yeah, this is what I said at the beginning. At the first screens are bootstraps, and they like if people are playing with web, they see okay, that's bootstrap. It's
Yeah,
obvious, but that here, yeah, with this
I
styling,
can't
it's
can't tell.
but
Yeah,
yeah, this is only CSS. And
yeah, very
for
nice.
all of these functionalities, so as you can see, based on the article where you are, the buttons are different. And this
Hmm.
is just Blazor, nothing more, just
Wow.
Blazor. Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Okay. I can add some modifiers if I wish. For example, I
Sure.
want it well done. I'm not sure that's correct for the pizza. And
Yeah.
some condiments. For example, I want olives and mushrooms on that pizza. Save it. You see all of these guys here in the
Yeah.
grid. You can again change the quantity, and when you
Yeah.
click send, it's sent to the kitchen. So there are other systems that are getting the order to the
Hmm.
cookers, etc. But yeah, and if I open the table, I see the ordered articles, and I can start again adding some other articles for the current because they call
Yeah.
me okay, I want one more whiskey, for example.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the brief demo of the app. There are some other functionalities here and there, but I can say that they are not such important. So these are the
Yeah.
most important that I just demoed that to.
Yeah, this is very impressive. And all of this UI is done through, you said Blazor mostly, with
It's
the exception of the initial screens that bootstrap. Yeah,
they are
this.
Bootstrap, but again, Blazor, no Bootstrap
Oh, wow.
JavaScript. As you can see here, I can open the index HTML, and you see that my Bootstrap JavaScripts are commented out and jQuery.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just put them here while was rewriting. Can I do it without them? And yes, answer is yes.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so you started this app like with pure JavaScript, like 7 8 years back, you said. And did you use any framework, like any data binding framework or any SPA framework?
Yeah, I was using Knockout.js there
Okay.
for the data bindings or for SPA. There's something like mix from this is one library that is called Page.js for just grabbing me the URL where I am, and with require.js, it's kind of mixed SPA. It's not the real SPA like Angular and React, but it's kind of
Yeah.
my SPA.
Yeah.
If I yeah.
So let me see if I can. I'm logged out of my account, so I can't. Let's see. Can I still type? Yeah, I can still type. So I'm going to drop you a name here, which I'm sure you know. I was going to drop the Twitter link here, but do you know of Steve Sanderson?
For sure. So
So he's an
everyone that is
engineer.
writing, yeah.
Yeah, he's an engineer on the distinguished engineer on at Microsoft, works on ASP.NET, but one of the key minds behind Blazor. But here's a fun fact that unless you're like old like me or Chavdar, you might not actually know. But Steve is actually also the author for Knockout JS.
Huh,
So yeah, he
that's
goes a
interesting.
long way. Yeah, he wrote Knockout JS, and then it ran its course for a good 7 8 years, and then other frameworks like Angular came along, which are very opinionated and kind of do what Knockout JS did, anyways. So it kind of fell off a little bit, but then off he goes with Blazor. So very very smart man.
This is why I am liking Blazor so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
because
well
Steve
well
Sanderson.
architected. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so tell us how you had the app and then you brought it over inside of .NET MAUI and you did all this, magic with Blazor.
Okay. So let's start from there. I started the Maui. There is a setup that you have to register some dependencies, etc., etc. So you can imagine that as every web application or Blazor application, there is a HTTP client that sits
Yep.
in front and make the API calls. And here is my setup. So this is the debug setup for the HTTP client. I have some handlers here set up, but they are fine. I will demo them later on. But the first problem was, okay, I'm on Windows. I set up my address. It's for testing purposes, HTTP address at the beginning. And you know what? On Windows, that's working perfect. No,
Yeah,
no,
not
no.
on Android or iOS. They do not like that at all.
Okay. Then I move to Android and it says, okay, I require at least HTTPS. Okay, fine. I added HTTPS, but I don't want to create a certificate. I just using the local certificate. And as I said, this app is for internal use, so every client can use its own certificate. But I want to trust it, so I will configure the primary HTTP handler. And I said, okay, so this is the way the handler trusts the certificate without
Oh, this
validating it.
is this is good.
That's fine. That's
Yeah.
good. That's working again on Windows.
And you are using the ASP.NET local dev certificate here?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yeah. And again, I put that code, and I think I'm fine. It's working on Windows with HTTPS. It will work everywhere, but no.
No.
And you have to come with this code here for every different platform. You have to use their native handlers for Android message handler, for iOS and Mac, these handlers. And here at home, I have iPhone, I have MacBook, so it's tested everywhere. And this is the initial setup that everyone should do, starting with Blazor and Maui,
I
if
I
they don't
want
have real
yeah.
certificates. Yeah.
I wonder why though. Why can't Maui expose the handlers so you can do it in one place? Or maybe
I'm
it's
not
too low level.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I tried to read about the code, but I decided not to spend too much time. Okay, it
Yeah,
seems reasonable. It seems
yeah,
reasonable devices to be strict about HTTPS,
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and their mechanism for crypting the connection is kind of different. So this is
Right.
maybe the
Yeah,
reason behind that.
yeah, yeah. And also, like the moment you get going with something like this, and you're wanting to just test Android and iOS simulators, they're like virtual machines. They're VMs. It's a different machine, so they don't know what localhost is. So, did you have that problem?
Yes, for sure. And here is my setup.
Ah,
Okay, if I'm in debug mode
yeah,
and the base address is different, and I have these hard-coded addresses just for debugging.
sure.
After that, I will show how I'm dealing with address on production. But yeah, so for Android, it has its own system. For WinUI, I'm fine with localhost because my API is running on that machine too. And
Yeah.
for iOS, I have this. This is my local IP in my local network to
Hmm.
test. So this one, I
Yeah.
have pinned my IP, and this is my setup for testing on any device at home.
Yeah, 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 sure. And then there are things that people have come up to help. Like I have used like proxies. Visual Studio actually now has a thing called dev tunnels, which essentially masks your local host and gives you a URL. Then I've also used things like ngrok, which is like still local host, but it's just goes to the cloud and come back in again. So there are ways around it. But this is where you are essentially opening up your service or running locally. So maybe explain this part a little bit. So you showed us the client app, but you have a service that's ASP.NET that's running locally as a backend.
Yes, so I have this web API.
Oh, so
This
API. Yeah. Okay.
API, yeah, and this API is like .NET framework, not core. It's running on Internet Information Services,
Oh, interesting. So you're
yes,
really mixing and matching here because the API
yes,
is old school. Yeah.
yeah, my API is old school. So
Okay.
yeah, someday I also rewrite that one, but it's working very well, to
Yeah.
be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is so classic, use case for lots of enterprises where, they feel compelled to move to the latest .NET. But I mean, things are working. Take your time. And, sure, if you move that API project to like .NET 6 and onwards, your performance might get better. But if it's working, it's working.
Yes, and you know what? Before starting migrating to Maui, it was just that project. The
Yeah.
application is not so big to be split. And okay, I'm using JavaScript. I don't need my models into the
Mhm.
API because I'm writing JavaScript. But for Maui, okay, I have my models on the server. Why don't I use them into the Maui for making the calls or using them as view models?
Yeah,
And then I created this one contract. So
I see.
I had here folder that was called contracts. I just get the models, copied them into the new project that is .NET Standard 2.0.
Hmm. So
And
that's a first step. You're kind of standardizing on .NET, and then whenever you feel like you should be ready to move this on to a more modern .NET.
yes, so .NET Standard, I have all my models. I
Yeah,
reference these models from the web, that is .NET
yeah,
Framework 4.8,
yeah,
and also in Maui. So that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
This is the real first step
yeah,
for
absolutely. And Maui looks like it's running on .NET 8. So yeah, real mix
yeah.
and match.
Yeah, it's .NET 8 and this guy here I have to
Hmm.
unload it. So yeah, you can see framework. Okay, this is the framework for the
Yeah,
API.
4.8. Yeah. All
So it's
right.
possible. It's
Yeah.
possible. Hmm. Okay, so that was the first problem that I met with the HTTP client. Okay, now it's solved. I think now everyone knows how to solve that problem. Also, there may be other solutions, but for me, this is the easiest one. I just deal with that and I continue ahead. Okay.
I don't know, Charles, if everyone knows how to solve it. So when you have time, it would be, excuse me, like really nice if you maybe wrote this up in a wiki or a blog post somewhere, because this is golden pieces of code, like how to get around some of the local host issues.
Okay,
Yeah.
that will be fine. Fixed and next. Go to the next. As you remember, here I need to pick up a device and I want to store it into my device. Okay,
Yeah.
so my web API, when I go to controllers, computers controller, and it returns me a header, cookie, sorry. A lot of validations here, blah blah blah. It returns me a cookie. It was, standard web application. I can work with cookies. Everything's fine.
Hmm.
And okay, so you can see that this cookie it never expires. It's HTTP only. So on every request, my browser send me the cookie, and now I know which device this is. Good. So far, so good. I have the cookie. I have the computer. Next step, login. And
So let me ask you a question here.
yeah,
Um, you are sending cookies down onto the client side now. So does this thing work seamlessly on Blazor within .NET MAUI? Because like, you're essentially writing that cookie on disk for iOS and Android.
okay, wait for a second. I will explain.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sending the cookie and I'm logging in.
Yeah.
So login, yes, you can imagine, is again a cookie. It's the old school forms authentication cookie because uh, I'm on um, I'm on .NET 8 forms authentication cookie. That's fine. I'm sending the cookie. My application is authenticated. That it was working on the web browsers perfectly. Okay, I'm rewriting that on Maui, and you know, on Windows it's working. I'm
Yeah.
fine. I'm fine. And
On
I
on
decided
Windows.
on Windows it's working,
Yeah.
and then I test on Android, and with small changes on the UI, it's again working. That's perfect. I'm very happy. I have the best of the both worlds. I have my browser there, and I can use cookies, local stores, all these kind of cool things. And my .NET is working on on the device. It's not running on the browser, and I'm very happy. Okay, I started that on iOS, and okay, I set my device. It's working. I log in, and I lost the device, and I don't know why. Why I'm losing the device? Uh, I have no device. I am authenticated. Okay, I dig into that. I can't remember where, to be honest, right now, but it's somewhere here into the handler. So I dig into that, and I realized that I'm not sure that is this a bug into the code for the Mac and iOS, or it's something that it's working like that. But uh, for the iOS, it sends you the cookies back, but the last received cookies. I mean, in my first screen, I'm receiving just the computer ID cookie. In the second screen, I'm receiving only the authentication cookie because my computer ID cookie is never expires, and iOS removes my computer cookie because it's not into the last response.
Uh,
So I lost that cookie, and I look into that code. I think it's here into that handler. To be honest, I can try to dig in now, but it will require a
yeah,
lot
and
of
no,
time
yeah.
to dig into it
This
right
is
now.
complicated essentially. So, like for web, it's fine because you're within the web context and your browser is writing that cookie, and it's free to read as many cookies as it wants. But in the context of Maui, you are using a browser that's, it's a web view host,
Yeah,
right? So you're
yeah,
somewhere deep inside the app sandbox, and maybe it needs to be written out like through the file APIs in .NET Maui instead of letting the browser write it. I don't know, but this is complicated because you're reading something that is meant for the browser, but now through a native app.
yeah. So, as I said, for me, it's a bug into the
Yeah,
implementation
could
for
be.
Mac because I saw the code into the GitHub, and there is a one check if statement that should not be there for me, but I'm not sure. Maybe there is a reason
Hmm.
behind that. But the advice that I can give here is, guys, don't use cookies while you are trying to make the hybrid
Yeah,
apps. Use
yeah.
headers.
Because actually, like, if you don't mind opening up like main page.xaml, let me see like how you are launching it. Yeah, it's a Blazor web view.
Yeah,
So this UI here is wrapping a lot. There's a lot of magic behind the scenes. So on Mac Catalyst, you're using a web view called WK Web View. On iOS, it's WebKit. On Android, it's Chromium. So now you're down to the level of detail for each web view and trying to figure out how each web view is handling that cookie. This is complicated. Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, don't use cookies. So it's not like you have a browser, you have a .NET. It's kind of browser, but there's a different implementations. It
Yeah.
behaves in some places differently. So don't use cookies. That's my advice. And this is all that I can say about this topic,
So
cookies.
what's your fallback? If you did not want to use cookies, you would just write something to file?
No. So the idea is different here. So I'm returning also the headers or responses. For example, for the computers, I think if I go to that computer controller, okay, I'm returning the where it is. It's not right here. Somewhere I'm returning a header, but I can't remember where, to
Yeah.
be honest.
So like instead of the cookie, you're handling it as a part of the header itself. So like you always know that it's coming back.
Yeah, I'm returning also the cookie, also the headers, and at the application level. Let's go to that particular page here into the. Okay, it's admin login. Maybe I can't remember order components. Okay, it's in components. It's computer. Maybe it's somewhere here. Okay. Okay. I'm grabbing the result from the JSON, so it returns me
Mhm.
into the data, and I'm setting into the I persistent store. And this is my interface, to be honest.
Okay.
because I'm trying to abstract everything from Maui. I want some one day to be able to run that application into the browser. Also, this is why I have
Mm,
persistent store interface here into the components. But after that, the implementation into the Maui currently is using the preferences of the device.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
getting and setting preferences into the device.
This is absolutely key. So, for anybody who's trying to bring web assets, your web applications, your components, your styles, JavaScript into a Maui app, the use of interfaces is absolutely critical because you will want to do different things for web versus native. So, like you're saying, like on Maui, this is actually fairly easy because you just grab preferences, which is a key value dictionary essentially that you get to
Yeah,
write, and it's persisted between app usages. You don't have that for the browser, so now you have to go into like offline cache storage, and do it differently. So interfaces is absolutely the way to go.
yeah. Yeah, and yeah, for the browser, for example, you can implement it with the local store. So we
Local
can have
storage.
like
Yeah.
persistent store for browser that is doing all the same thing, but reading from local store and setting the
Right.
things to the
Yep.
local store.
Yep.
So you don't have and use something that is Maui specific into your Blazor. And when you have something, some separations of the project like that, so it does not allow you to use that because in my page I can't just go here and use preferences because I have not reference
Right.
from Maui anything from Maui here. So keep in mind in your components, don't reference Maui libraries at all,
Yeah.
and you'll be safe. You have no preferences. Then you can say, okay, I have to use interface. I'm getting that interface. I'm getting the implementation into the Maui project, and everything's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So you
Uh,
you actually in your project, what you have done is separated out. Actually, before I say that, I have one of my good friends showing up in the chat room. Hey, Thindel, good to see you. Good to see you. We are doing Blazor and .NET Maui, so kind of in your ballpark. So what you have done essentially is you have moved your Blazor components and the auth and the services into a separate project. Is that a project?
yeah, that's project, and it has a Razor SDK.
Yeah. Okay.
That project. So everything related to Blazor is here into that project. Also, the services I call that services. Maybe it's contracts or something. So here are all the abstractions that I need to make my application up and running.
Yeah. So while you might not be doing it yet, but you are already nicely set up. Like if you wanted to just run this app back in the browser, you
Yeah,
already have the Blazor components separated out.
I have everything. I
Yeah.
in one WebAssembly project, I need just to go and set up the dependency injection, and that's all. It
Yeah.
should work in theory. It should work, and it's kind of 2-3 hours of work just implement some of these guys here for the browser, register them into the container, and everything should be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is a classic, way of sharing code between web apps and native apps. And we have talked about this for a long time. There is no like Visual Studio template that does it for you. Like you don't get a Maui project with Blazor serving the web apps as well. But I think it's coming. It's being worked on. Engineering teams at .NET teams are looking at this. So maybe eventually this year we'll have a template.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too because from .NET 5 to now, they improved this experience a lot with the templates, a lot of improvements there into the Blazor, Maui, etc., etc. So it's coming for sure.
Oh, hold on here for a second here. Chat room is here to help. Smab UK, hey, good to see you. Chavdar, if you did not know, and I'm sure most folks are tuning in, Microsoft Build is happening this week, like yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I think. This is absolutely being worked on. So Dan Roth, who is in charge of ASP.NET, they have been working on such templates, and it's coming in .NET 9. So while there is nothing stopping you from doing this right now, just separating out your Blazor components and styles into a separate project, you will be able to do this much, much easier come .NET 9. So
Hmm.
thanks for that, Smab UK. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we solved the problem with the computer. Now we have to solve the problem with the authentication.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a big one. And no,
Okay.
Chavdar, before you proceed, I have to ask you a question that's a deal breaker question for us, right? Because
Hmm.
who cares about these apps? Do you have AI? Because you cannot. You're not even real if you don't do AI these days, right? I'm just joking. I'm just joking. It's just you have to see the promise of AI and all the things that they are doing, but some of it is like, this is just. I mean, is that all that we can talk about? Come on. Yeah.
Okay, the AI, but
Yeah.
okay, but I'm pretty sure, to be honest, that AI will not be able to solve all these problems.
No, not surely not what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe for different type of problems, it will be faster
Yeah,
than
yeah.
us, but
There are
for
there are implications of. So I actually like some of the things that the .NET teams are doing. There's a PM named Jordan Matheson. He works with another smart engineer named Louis, and they are trying to not pivot completely to all things AI, but just infuse a little bit of AI inside of your .NET apps. So they are building things like semantic kernel. They are letting you use OpenAI. Endpoints, just bring in a little bit of smartness. So maybe like for your point of service system, like where you showed off that drop down, like you start typing pizza and it comes back with a list of things. Maybe AI could help give you like smarter completions, things like that. But this is the nuts and bolts of enterprise line of business apps and point of system apps. You're not going to replace any of this with AI.
yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about authentication
Yeah.
a little bit. So it's not the best authentication in the world. It's .NET framework. It's forms authentication. That's fine. Okay. I'm returning the authentication details for the user in my login endpoint. Let me show a quick. So I am returning here everything. I'm returning some user basic information. I'm returning the encrypted authentication ticket, some other information that I'll talk about later on. But let's focus on these two at the moment. Okay, I'm returning that as a result of the login endpoint. And okay, let's go to the pages, into the login somewhere here. Here it is. And okay,
So
I'm log.
your auth is done entirely through the web app. There is nothing native in here, right? It's just the Blazor app calling into this endpoint.
Yes. So my login service, I can see I have this abstraction that is login service that says login and logout. And the implementation of that login service is actually the authentication state provider. For Blazor authentication, you have to have authentication state provider. That is the abstract class for the Blazor authentication. But this
Hmm.
is the abstract, and the implementation for the browser, for the MAUI, for OAuth, for different kind of authentications is different. So I'm using in other projects the OAuth authentication, where the implementation is called remote authentication state provider or something like that. In this case, I have my implementation of authentication state provider that also implements my login service. And here you can see that in login, I'm doing some things, and here is my user container. And for logout, it's reset to null my user, and I need to implement that get authentication state that also gets from my container. And as you can imagine, it's an abstraction again. It's an abstraction, and the implementation on MAUI, it's nothing interesting. It's just a singleton because I want, when my app is closed, user to be logged out. Okay, I have this singleton guy. I'm keeping the user here, and when I close the application, this is destroyed, and the authentication state is lost. It's pretty easy because we're laying again on abstractions. here is the singleton. Okay, in the browser you use something different, like session store, for example, or something
Hmm.
like that. But again, abstractions. And is the key thing is the authentication state provider that you have to implement yourself. I'm not sure, but I was not able to find um, this implementation for statics. Maybe there is, but I couldn't find it. And here is my registration. I add scope this one, and again my login service is the same instance. So this is very strange, but very interesting construction. Maybe you've seen it, maybe not, but I'm using this a lot when I have one class that is stateful and implemented for two different interface or abstract classes. So this is the key
Yeah.
point again for authentication.
Yeah, and I think this is realistic because if you have done forms authentication for even like web forms or MVC back in the days, like that all still works.
Yeah,
In Mavi as well. I think where authentication gets a little tricky these days, Shavdar, is when you are doing like the authentication through auth tokens, and that back and forth gets a little complicated for native apps. Like who accepts that token back? What's the endpoint for the auth service to send that token back? So that gets to be a little tricky, and I think they are trying to work around it. The whole thing is now called Entra ID, which is I think Microsoft's way of combining
yeah,
identity into like one service type thing. So yeah,
yeah. For web, to be honest, is there's a lot of libraries there. There's two that I'm using it. It's pretty easy because you're just following the documentation on in web is working. In
yeah,
Maui with Blazor, I didn't test yet, but I'm pretty sure that next days I'll be there because I love the authentication, and this is one of my biggest challenges to dealing with authentication.
yeah. All right. So can we go back to the client side app? Because I was quite amazed with the way you were, choosing a different table, like on Android, and or once you were at the table, based on the item or articles that you had different buttons show up at the bottom, exactly on this screen, where you had customization options like your condiments or other things that you
Okay,
showed off.
let me mark some stuff because it's when it's already ordered, you can't change them.
I see.
You know.
Yeah, because you actually
Okay.
send it to the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Uh,
how are you pulling that off? I'm very curious now. And also
okay.
like this so before you go on, like this list of buttons, is that a flex grid? Like how are you rendering these? Is it responsive?
Mm, yeah, it's responsive. Okay, you can see now.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay, it's responsive, but it's have only two dimensions for landscape and portrait because the main idea of that application is mobile. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not for desktop. I can try to log in here. Okay, I need to set up these things. You can see. Give me a second just to select these two guys here. Okay, and here it is. I can open the same table. Okay, so you see,
Yeah.
so
No,
it
but this
has
is
to.
fine. This is more than enough for what you're trying to do at a kiosk.
Yeah, yeah.
So can you show us this is all you said, this is Blazor UI. Can you show us like how you're doing this? Like just this
Okay.
assortment of buttons?
You mean, oh, I opened from the another device and it delete my order. So this is okay.
So just
Let's.
this screen, let's say, with all of these buttons, how are you rendering it?
Yeah. Okay. Let me go to the final screen. It's you mean this one? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
and any of the screens with the buttons, like how are you rendering this?
okay.
Is it a
It's
grid?
okay. So don't take a look on my CSS on my inline styles.
That's all right.
I'm
We all do it.
okay. I just dealing with this one in weekends and I have no time to write
No,
that
no,
to the
this is actually absolutely awesome for a side project. So you are going
okay.
through for each through the list of articles, and for each
Yeah.
one you are rendering
Some.
spans inside divs.
Yeah. So I'm going through the articles. So, okay, it can be a group that enters into the next level. So if it's group, it shows something like mm, this is for just fix for something. I can. because I can show availability. Some places in that demo is not. Okay, the
Right.
text decoration because my groups are underlined. So have a function that says, oh, okay, if it's a group, it's underlined. If not, it's not. Okay, so text decoration. Again, the marked quantity, and for the these are that are not groups, give me the price, etc.
Yeah. And
Okay.
the div that you are rendering this, like the tabs, the class tabs left, like is that doing a grid or is it a table? Like I'm just trying to understand how you're rendering the buttons.
Okay, so it's custom CSS.
Okay.
To be honest, can't remember because these styles are written 8 years ago.
Long time back, yeah, but it
Yeah,
works beautifully inside of
yeah.
Maui. Yeah,
And going to the when you select the article, for example,
yeah,
here is okay, this is the color, this is the background color. As you can see, they have different colors, and
different
it's
colors.
based on, yeah. So I received the colors, I can't remember, but in some format, I can't remember the name that I need to do all of this stuff to make it RGB.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
because uh, the initial app was written in Delphi
Oh boy.
application. Yeah, and I can't remember how this format for
Yeah, I
color is
see. Yeah,
called, but yeah. And okay, let's go back, and on click I have this select article handler that if it's group, I have a stack for the groups where you're going inside the groups, and when I click, if it's group, it's push the stack and load the articles for that particular group, because you can imagine that the table in the database is like a tree. I have ID, I have the parent ID, and loading the articles. If not, I'm just inserting the role here. So there is some specific logics here.
sure,
Don't take a
sure.
look at them.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And when for example you click this up button, it's popped from the stack and log the articles again.
right,
You know.
right. Now, if you go back to the screen here, let's just like add pizza
Mhm.
as an article because that's the
Where?
one. Yeah, any pizza, and then when you confirm,
Hmm.
and yeah, this was what I was asking. Like, how are you customizing which buttons show up, and how are they showing up so nicely?
Okay.
Organized layout wise.
Okay. So it's a lot of if else's here. So okay, let's go to that screen then. It's called orders.
It's the devil is in the details. You have to do what you have to do to make your thing work.
Okay. So when I click on the row, oh, you see these guys here?
Yeah,
These are part of the game.
I see.
Okay. Let's go here. Orders page. Um, and it's again responsive, and you can
Oh
see that
yeah,
this is one row. uh if I turn back this, okay, not here but like that, these are again two rows, and you can see that I wrote this 8 years ago. I'm not the best CSS writer, so I repeat these guys two times.
yeah. Well, it
For
looks
that,
fine. Yeah.
yeah, it's very,
And then you have like nav classes at the bottom, which organize,
yeah, these are the
the
nav bars,
buttons.
which are
Yeah.
the active nav bar. Let's go to somewhere to the article. Okay, here are the articles, and here are my ordering rows that are the current rows. Okay, so here somewhere here I have like click handler for sure. Let me find that. Okay, this is the minus quantity, this is the quantity, this is the that one. Maybe it's that one. Select row. Okay, this is the select row. Oh, okay. Now you can see here. Not that screen. That one. When I have something from recipe, etc., there are modifiers, for example. Okay,
Hmm.
these are again rows, but you can't click on them. You can click only the main one. So these are
Sure.
like sub rows. So I have
Yeah.
some checks here. Okay, it's art is modified, is condiment, etc. And then I going against. the API and say, okay, give me the properties for that article. It
I see.
says it has recipe, and this is returning from the server. This article has recipe, this article has condiments, or these are the modifier mappings
Modifiers. Yeah.
for
Yeah.
that article. Okay, I have a cache here that is a dictionary only on that page
So
because
you hold on to those. Yep.
yeah, because I can click a lot of time on that one and I
Right.
don't need
Right.
to write
Yep.
make a
Yep.
request. And I have these properties. Okay, so these are the properties, and I have something that I call selected row. Selected row has its information, that is the entire row and the properties, and everything is about that guy selected row. You can see I have unselected row method that make that null, and
Yep.
for that buttons is here, the magic is here. Okay, and let's start. Okay, if selected rows has modifier, show me something. If has
Show me that.
recipe, show me something. But I want if uh okay, if you want to see if I click select.
And looks like when you have certain condiments or modifiers, that's like a modal window. Is that like a like a web window that you're popping up? Like what is this window?
This is bootstrap window.
Ah,
Uh-huh.
no,
And
this is very nice.
yeah, and this is a lot of logic against this selected row because I want, if possible, to groups buttons to, for example, here, if I have no modifiers for that article, what will happen? This recipe and these condiments will be on the same row, but with
Oh, this split up.
yeah, and this is all the logic behind that. It's kind of playing with the classes, playing
Yeah.
with the some logic. So this is,
No,
but it's
this
not a
is
big deal,
no,
to be
but it's
honest.
very nice custom code to make sure the
Yeah.
alignment looks very nice. And every time you have clicked on it, it looks absolutely good. It's down at the bottom. It's aligned perfectly right, and the splitting of the buttons works beautifully. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and you mentioned one time all of this is data is being fed through the Web API project into the client. But what's the database? Out of curiosity,
It's SQL Server
SQL Server.
database.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm using other studios like dbeaver. I'm not sure you aware of that beautiful software for databases, but I'm using mostly that
dbeaver.
one.
No, I have not used that. Yeah.
Okay, so this dbeaver, out of topic a little bit, but it supports all of the of types of databases like Postgres, MySQL,
Nice.
SQL
Nice.
Server,
Yeah.
all of this stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very powerful and good too.
I was doing something with old SQL Server data in a Maui app, and I was trying to cache things, and I was kind of pleasantly surprised to see like SQLite implementations. If you wanted to cache something from the SQL Server in your client-side app, that all works very seamlessly as well. So you can have all of your relationships and your structures just cached locally.
Yeah, we can talk some of the next times if you wish
Sounds
for
like this is very complicated, and we could easily do a couple of shows,
yes,
breaking
for
this up.
SQLite, offline modes, etc.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
very funny topics.
yeah,
Do
yeah. I
do you
think
have SQLite running into the browser?
no, no. It's just a
Because I
native
have
app.
we
Okay.
have such an implementation
Oh,
running into the
fancy.
browser and support the entire offline mode into SQLite.
Wow. I would love to know more, but maybe not today because we have already blown past an hour. Because this is super fun. This is, I mean, it shows like it's years of work. But I mean, porting it to Blazor and Maui is what you're saying. That part didn't take you a whole lot, but all of this custom logic of the implementations, that's years in the making. No, this is very well done. And
Yeah.
is this actually used in any restaurant or any store?
So currently, my rewritten Blazor app is not yet because it has some stuff that needs to be um, fixed or stuff like that. I'm in testing phase right now, but I hope that in next month or two it
Yeah.
will be working there.
If I were you, I would try to monetize this because this is very well written. I mean, you could just change up the recipes and the menus in the articles, and this could be customized for any restaurant, really.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
This app has its backend for managing all of this. It has kitchen printers, and I have a very nice functionality, but it's not yet implemented in Maui for when, for example, one order is ready into the kitchen. They have their kitchen printers. Let's say this is
Yeah.
an app that stays in front of them, and when they click on your app with Signal R on your app, it brings you a pop-up that says, "Okay, that's ready and ready to serve on the
Mm,
table." Yeah, and this is implemented already into the JavaScript, but not yet on Maui.
nice. You're doing some very, very fancy things. I love it. But you're also, not, what you're doing is also realistic for enterprises because you're not letting go of the things that you have done, like your APIs and your SQL Server. That's still running as it used to be. So this is very well done. Yeah, it's a great
Mm.
use case of what Blazor Hybrid on Maui can pull off. So well done, well done.
Yeah, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. So,
O-
Chavdar, I think we're gonna have to do another show at the very least to talk about all the complexities that we glossed over.
Yeah, I have a lot more topics prepared for today, but the time,
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
mean time will fly because like I kept on asking you questions, and
yeah.
we have gone an hour. So why don't we pause today and maybe resume maybe next week or maybe the week after because this I'd love to dive more into this. All right. So, yeah, this has been great. Very eye opening on what exactly is possible. I would actually love for you to show this off to some of the folks who, built the Blazor, hybrid Maui tooling on the .NET teams. They would love to see this because this is a great use story, great use case of, how it's done. This has been good. This has been very good to see your work and, how you ported it over to Blazor Maui. The authentication, registering the devices, that's all very real for many enterprise line of business apps. So good stuff all around. If you're like me, this is super exciting. I want to dig in more, Chapter, so you can show me more next time around.
For
Yeah,
sure, for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
it was.
very real world way of architecting Blazor hybrid apps.
And it can be done better, to be honest, but for sure it's a small app, to be honest. It shouldn't be done with the high level architecture, etc., but it's a small app. It has a good architecture, to be honest, and it can
Yeah,
run
it does.
everywhere, so
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
And it's enough.
And you are doing this, nights and weekends. That's very impressive. Yeah.
Mhm.
So good luck taking this places because I think you have put in a lot of effort in this, and you can actually sell this quite well to local businesses. All right, folks. I think that's a stream from us here, Sam and Chapter. Thank you for hanging out with us. Hope you have a great rest of your day, Chavdar. I hope you go for a nice dinner and a good evening, your time.
Maybe a nice dinner and one beer.
Okay,
it
there you go.
it won't be a whiskey, but a beer for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's still a work day, but yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm just starting out. I got a long day ahead of me, but hopefully I'll get to my evening soon as well. But thank you so much, Avrar. I appreciate your time and appreciate you all in the chat room. That's it from us, and be well, be productive. We will see you around on another stream. All right.
And don't use cookies in Maui.
Oh, you had to end with that.